Have you ever wondered why your cat struts across your desk like it pays the mortgage? Or why it sits on your keyboard the second you start typing something important, staring at you like you are the one intruding on its space? Well, the truth is that behavior is not an accident, and it is not your cat being spiteful. It is thousands of years of evolution talking. Today we are going to break down exactly why cats act like they own everything. Starting with the fact that cats are not fully domesticated animals in the way dogs are. Dogs were bred over tens of thousands of years to work with humans, to herd, to guard, to hunt alongside us. But cats basically domesticated themselves. Around 10,000 years ago, when humans in the Fertile Crescent started storing grain, that grain attracted rodents, and those rodents attracted wildcats. The wildcats realized that hanging around human settlements meant an endless buffet of mice, so they stuck around. Not because they needed us emotionally, but because we were useful. And that single fact changes everything about how we should understand cat behavior. Because unlike dogs, who see humans as pack leaders, cats never had to see us as anything other than a convenient roommate. And that mentality has basically never left them. So when your cat walks into a room like it owns the place, it is because, genetically speaking, it still thinks of itself as a small, independent predator who happens to live in a very comfortable cave that you pay rent on. This brings us to the first big reason cats act so entitled: territory. In the wild, a cat's survival depends entirely on control over territory. A solitary hunting cat needs guaranteed access to hunting grounds, water, and safe resting spots, and any threat to that territory is a threat to survival itself. So cats evolved an intense drive to claim, mark, and defend space. And here is the wild part. When your cat rubs its face on your furniture, on the corners of your walls, on your legs when you walk in the door, it is not just being affectionate. It is depositing pheromones from scent glands located on its cheeks, chin, and forehead. This is called bunting, and it is literally your cat marking you and your home as its property. Cats have scent glands in multiple places: their cheeks, their paws, even between their toes. And every time they scratch your couch or need a blanket, they are leaving behind a chemical signature that says, "This belongs to me." So, in a very real biological sense, your cat is not living in your house. You are living in your cat's house, and it is just generous enough to let you stay. Now let's talk about why cats seem to ignore you one minute and demand attention the next, because this is probably the behavior that convinces most people that cats are arrogant little dictators. The explanation lies in the fact that cats evolved as both predator and prey. Unlike dogs, who mostly evolved as pack predators with few natural enemies, small wild cats had to watch out for larger predators like coyotes, birds of prey, and other threats. This dual role shaped a nervous system that is constantly calculating risk versus reward. So when a cat decides to ignore you, it is often because in that exact moment there is no immediate benefit to engaging. But the second it wants food, warmth, or play, it will demand your attention instantly and without apology. Because in the cat's mind, why would it waste energy or lower its guard for something that offers no immediate value? This is not coldness, it is efficiency. Wild survival instincts do not disappear just because your cat sleeps on a heated blanket and eats from a ceramic bowl shaped like a fish. And this efficiency also explains the aloofness that cat owners often mistake for arrogance. Cats did not evolve to need constant social bonding to survive the way pack animals did. A lone cat in the wild could hunt, defend territory, and reproduce without relying on a group, so the intense loyalty and eagerness to please that we see in dogs simply was never necessary for feline survival. That does not mean cats do not bond with humans. Research using something called the secure base test has actually shown that cats do form attachments to their owners, similar to how human infants bond with parents. But the difference is that cats express that bond on their own terms. Dogs are wired to seek approval. Cats are wired to seek control. And that distinction is the key to understanding almost every confusing thing your cat does. Now let's get into the physical side of things, because a huge part of why cats act like royalty comes down to their bodies and their senses. Cats have incredible night vision, a highly developed sense of smell, whiskers that can detect the slightest changes in air currents, and reflexes fast enough to catch prey midair. When you are built like a nearly perfect hunting machine, it changes your entire relationship with the world around you. Cats do not experience themselves as small or vulnerable the way we might assume. They experience themselves as apex predators within their own environment, and this self-perception influences behavior constantly. Think about why cats love high places. Jumping onto refrigerators, bookshelves, the top of doors. This is not random. Height equals power in feline psychology. From an elevated position, a cat can observe its entire territory, spot threats, and feel secure. So when your cat chooses to sit on top of the bookshelf instead of next to you on the floor, it is not rejecting you. It is literally putting itself in the most strategically dominant position in the room. And that instinct to seek the highest point of control is baked into their DNA. Another huge factor is how cats communicate, or rather, how differently they communicate compared to humans. Cats primarily communicate through body language and scent, and only use vocalizations like meowing specifically to communicate with humans. Wild cats barely meow at each other at all. That behavior evolved specifically because humans respond to sound, which means every meow your cat gives you is a calculated tool, not an instinctive reaction. Cats learn very quickly which sounds get them food faster, which sounds get them attention, and which sounds get doors open. So, in a strange way, cats have trained us just as much as we have trained them. And this leads perfectly into the biggest myth about cat behavior, the idea that cats are just naturally cold or unemotional. When in reality, cats are incredibly intelligent and highly adaptive animals who have figured out exactly how to get what they want from us with minimal effort. And if that is not the definition of acting like you own the place, I do not know what is. Now, here is something that might surprise you. Studies in feline cognition have shown that cats are capable of forming complex mental maps of their environment, recognizing patterns in human routines, and even displaying object permanence, meaning they understand that things continue to exist even when they cannot see them. This level of cognitive ability means cats are not just running on instinct, they are constantly observing, calculating, and adjusting their behavior based on what works. When your cat sits and stares at you until you get up and feed it, that is not stubbornness. That is a calculated behavioral strategy built on repeated success. And once a behavior works, cats will repeat it relentlessly, because why would they change a strategy that gets results? This is also why cats seem to have such strong personalities and individual preferences. Unlike many animals whose behavior is largely uniform across the species, cats show huge variation in temperament. Some are cuddly, some are standoffish, some are chatty, some barely make a sound. And a lot of this comes down to early socialization, particularly during the first 7 weeks of life. Kittens who are exposed to gentle human handling during this critical window tend to grow into more affectionate and confident adults, while kittens who miss that window often develop more independent or wary personalities. So, in many ways, the personality your cat has as an adult is a direct reflection of both genetics and the experiences it had as a tiny kitten long before you ever brought it home. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the tiger in the room, because genetically speaking, domestic cats share about 95% of their DNA with tigers. And while that number gets thrown around a lot online, the underlying truth behind it is real. House cats display many of the same core behaviors as their large wild relatives: stalking, pouncing, scent marking, territorial patrolling, and even the specific way cats knead with their paws traces back to nursing behavior from kittenhood that never fully disappears in adulthood. When your adult cat needs a blanket or your lap, it is instinctively recreating the motion it used as a kitten to stimulate milk flow from its mother, which means every time your cat needs on you, it is treating you, on some subconscious level, as a source of comfort and nourishment, which is honestly one of the most oddly touching pieces of feline behavior, once you understand what is actually happening beneath the surface. So when you put all of these pieces together, the territorial instincts, the predator-prey nervous system, the height-seeking behavior, the calculated vocalizations, the early socialization windows, and the deep evolutionary wiring inherited from wild ancestors, you start to see that cats are not acting entitled out of arrogance. They are behaving exactly the way millions of years of evolution designed them to behave. They are simply following an ancient survival blueprint that never fully adapted to modern domestic life. And the truly fascinating part is that despite living in our homes, sleeping on our beds, and eating food we buy for them, cats have never fully given up their wild identity. They have simply adapted it to fit a world with sofas, laser pointers, and automatic feeders. So the next time your cat knocks something off a table while maintaining direct eye contact with you, or refuses to move from the one spot on the couch you were about to sit in, remember, you are not just living with a pet. You are living with a highly evolved, semi-wild predator who has cleverly convinced humanity to provide food, shelter, and belly rubs, all while maintaining the illusion that it needs nothing from you at all. And honestly, when you really think about it, that might be the most impressive con in the entire animal kingdom. Because somehow, without ever asking permission, cats convinced humans across the entire planet to build an industry worth billions of dollars around their comfort, all while giving us nothing but the occasional purr in return. So the next time your cat looks at you like you are the guest in its house, just remember, biologically, evolutionarily, and honestly, kind of legally in their own furry little minds, they might actually be right.